Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm at my mummy's house and I thought I'd come and discuss what's been on my mind. I actually want to talk about the cultural difference between the Western world and the Middle Eastern world and how this plays directly into the creation of 1948 Israel. Because if we don't understand the culture, we won't understand the outcome. When we look at the Middle East, we're looking at a world where life wasn't divided the way it is in the West. For example, faith wasn't something personal that sat quietly on the side. It shaped law, identity, and community, even how people saw the land itself. Everything was intertwined, lived, and carried across generations through the culture, tradition, across the centuries, and the customs. Now compare that to the Western world, where time and society moved towards separating religion from the state, building a modern nation states and organising life throughout secular systems. That shift changes how people think, how they governed, and how they built a country. Then comes the Balfour Declaration. It was a European decision about a region that already had its own structure and community. I'm not going to go into the Balfour Declaration today, though. Not to mention, when you look at historically and geographically the Israel of today, it isn't the same Israel as described in the Bible, in the Old Testament. It's far removed in structure, context, and in time. And many of the Jewish communities that came from Europe in the modern era, 1948, aren't the same as the ancient tribal groups of the Old Testament, despite how much the news or certain people groups presented. It's not factual at all. So from there, many of those who came to establish the state of Israel were coming out of Europe, shaped by a Western framework and mindset, and also shaped by secular thinking. Therefore, what we end up with is a Western-framed model of statehood being placed into an Eastern world that never operated that way. Absolutely didn't. Thus, the Western framework of mind, action, and culture doesn't just quietly fit in, rather it's opposing to everything in the Middle East within centuries of culture, empires, traditions, and religion. The East and the West stand apart because the mindset, the structure, even the way society is organised, all of it is so incredibly and unequivocally different. One is ancient, continuous, and deeply tied to land and faith, while the other is modern, structured, through European history and progression, dear viewers. Once you see that, you'll start to understand clearly why the tension isn't just political, and it hasn't been and will continue not to be. Rather, from the very beginning, it is cultural, it is traditions and customs of centuries past. The East do not do away with that sort of thing. We keep it in heart, we keep it in mind, we keep it in action, we keep it in thought, and we keep it in culture. So you had these European Jewish from the West bringing in to an Eastern historical, ancient area what was new, what was progressive, and what didn't hold on to tradition, customs, and cultures of ancient empires. So of course you're going to get somewhat of a contradiction or a mess, and an extreme tension for sure. And this is what we need to understand, is the West is just completely opposing to the way the East lives. Yes, we are in modern times and the East lives that accordingly, but we do not eradicate the centuries of ancient tradition, religion, and culture. And until we understand that and take that into mind and into thought, we will never understand the Middle East at all. And we in the West would think, oh, that's moronic. Oh, that is just ridiculous. No. We in the East hold on to tradition. We in the East hold on to culture while living in modern times. And we find our richness, our philosophy, our poetry, our culture, and our way of living accordingly. And we don't look, against that or in contempt of that. Rather, we embrace it. I hope this has helped to give you a bit of insight and understanding into how we in the Middle East think, live, even breathe. It's on our ancient culture, customs, traditions by still embracing and walking in modern times. If you enjoyed this, or if this gave you any more insight into the Middle East, it's a very short video, please do pass it on. Like will help as well, because it helps to generate the video to be more widespread on the algorithm. And also, if you've not subscribed, please do subscribe to Salwa Samra Unscripted if this has interest you. I do cover many topics. Until the next time, thank you for joining me. Au revoir.